back to another exciting episode of Me and My Health Up. And I'm your host, Anthony Hartcher. I just about forgotten my name, but I haven't. It's Anthony Hartcher, the healthy man. And yes, I'm a clinical nutritionist and lifestyle medicine specialist. What makes this episode so important and why you should listen? Well, it's 4 years of celebrating Me and My Health Up. Woohoo! And it's been a long journey. I've learned so much. The time's gone so quickly. And I've met and delivered my promise of one episode per week. And in some years, I've exceeded that. But this is not about me. It is about you. And so this episode is sharing the learnings that I've learned that are really important for you to reflect on. So I'd love to share the 5 key learnings from this podcast that's 4 years old. Maybe I should have chosen 4, but I didn't. I chose 5 just because 5 is a hit number, and I could have went to 10, but I didn't because I didn't want you to be just bored of the episode. I can talk for ages, as you know. So I just wanted to keep it to 5. I may develop a part 2. I'm not sure, depending on the feedback I get. So let's get into today's episode of what I've learned over the 4 years of podcasting. And the first one being, guess what? Drum roll. The drum roll is focus on progress over perfection. Yes, we get hung up in this world of perfectionism, and we have this fantasy of perfectionism. And fantasies are just fantasies, right? They're unreal. They're unrealistic expectations. And so often we can put a fantasy on ourselves in terms of this is the way it needs to be and this is the only way. And we can never get to that fantasy because it's a fantasy. And so we stop progress. And because the perfectionism is all too great, overwhelming, because we strive towards perfectionism, but it's never obtained. It's something that we work to. We can always improve. And so it's what we should be focusing on is the improvement, the incremental improvement. So in terms of this podcast, it started out on Zoom, and I had no microphone, I had no earphones, and I was interviewing guests because I had that imposter syndrome. I thought, who would want to listen to me? So I'm just going to interview experts. And as you've probably realized over the time of which the 4 years, I've grown as a person. So I'm more confident, and probably more competent. I think I'm more confident as well, and confidence. Certainly self-confidence has grown. And it's because I've focused on the progress over perfection. Let me get into this. So my first episode, I had Zoom, I had a computer, it was COVID, and I thought I'm going to interview an expert that I know, that I'm comfortable interviewing. And it was an interview that I had no intro, outro, I had some notes, I had some sort of guidance, and I just had a discussion essentially. And it's never been edited, and my earlier episodes have never been edited. They were just raw. They were raw, authentic Zoom recordings. So the sound wasn't great. Obviously, the sound's much better now. I've brought a microphone, but I didn't know if I wanted to continue podcasting. I just thought I would have a go. And I had a go. And I was open and curious about interviewing and learning more about the guests and hopefully providing helpful insight for you. And I did have a mission, and the mission was to enhance and enlighten your well-being. And it's always been my mission around health. That's what I seek to do every day. So I just started doing interviews, raw, uploading. I didn't even know where to upload it to. I had to ask someone, did they know of a reputable company where I could host my podcast? And I found one. And I've been using Buzzsprout. I stuck with Buzzsprout. I didn't stick with Zoom because I realized it was a poor audio quality. So I've been incrementally improving things based on feedback. I found out through education, through Buzzsprout, that I needed a microphone because people get turned off by poor audio quality. And so I thought I needed a microphone. I thought, well, the headphones, I didn't know I needed them, but I heard about feedback, and feedback's annoying for the listener. So I invested in earphones, and now I invested in further software that enhanced the audio quality, which I ended up on Riverside. And so I went on this journey over time. And I didn't have an editor to begin with. And over time, I got an editor because I realized that adds value in terms of creation, or it's a better user experience, or a better listener experience, or a better watcher experience. Because now this is on YouTube. This podcast wasn't on YouTube before. Now it's on YouTube, so you can watch it and listen to it. And so I started with this mission in mind and not knowing where it would go. I actually have no idea where it's going to end up, but I'm 4 years on and I'm still going. So that's a good sign. What keeps me going? It's the constant. Well, it's you first. I have a listener base. Obviously, if I was talking to myself and no one was listening, I don't think I'd continue. But in saying that, there are intangible benefits, or they're not intangible, they're tangible, because I'm always seeking knowledge and I'm seeking to better understand the knowledge so I can share it with others. So my knowledge has increased. My health knowledge has increased. My health has increased through implementing what I've learned off the guests. So the expert guest, every guest has taught me something, and I've applied something from every guest expert talk that I've done, discussion that I've done. And my health has incrementally improved. So health, again, is not about chasing perfection. It's about incremental progress. My diet has been turned upside down. So what I was eating when I first started podcasting 4 years ago is not what I'm eating today. Today I'm eating far less. So I'm eating less calories, and I'm finding it easier to eat less calories, and I'm eating different. The composition of food that I'm eating is different. I was very much a plant-based eater, and now I'm eating more meats and eating more fat. And what I used to call on the episode as not so good fat, the saturated fats. So I'm now consuming them. So it's amazing what education can do and empowerment can do, and how. But in order for that empowerment to happen, you need to have an open mind. I've always had an open mind with every guest. And every guest, because of the open mind, has taught me something. And I've looked into it, further looked into the science, and saw that there's science behind it. And I've applied it, incrementally applied it, and I've got the benefits. Because you're not going to continue to do something if you don't see the benefits. But also through my training, I've realized that you need to apply it consistently for quite a while before seeing the benefits. People give up too quickly. They expect immediate results. They expect very much what drugs give them, which is quite a quick effect. It takes over their body. Whereas habits will allow your body to transform. They will allow your body to adapt and move to a new level. And that takes time. Whereas drugs take over your system. They interrupt, and they're taking over and intercepting pathways. And in the interception of pathways, they're not allowing the progress of certain chemicals or the manufacturing of synthesis of things that your body needs. It stops it, or it allows things to accumulate or things to remove from your body quicker. And so that's drugs. That's how drugs work. And so it provides a much quicker effect. Whereas when you're doing it via education and applying it, it's the more natural effect, la naturale, which is slower, but there's no side effects. It either works or it doesn't work. And the other thing I've learned, and I haven't got this in my notes actually, it's just come to mind, I should share with you, is that you're your own experiment. You're the best teacher and guide, that you know your body best. And so you should own it and own your health and make decisions based on what's best for you, not on what Andrew Huberman's saying or Joe Rogan's saying. No one like that. You make the decision based on what's working for you. So what I will do is the same thing. I'll apply the learnings, apply it consistently. Is it for me or not for me? Is it working or not working? I'll make a decision whether I continue. And I want you to do the same with Me&My Health Up. Just because Anthony says it doesn't necessarily mean it works for you. It might work for Anthony, it might work for others in studies, scientific studies, but it just might not work for you. So don't take it as gospel. Question everything. So that's something else I've learned over the 4 years, is question everything. Because if I didn't question what I learned in my degree, I wouldn't be eating what I'm eating today. And I feel amazing today. I feel incredibly empowered today. And I'm running on higher energy than when I started 4 years ago. Got better stress management than 4 years ago. Got better sleep than 4 years ago. And I feel fitter than ever before than 4 years ago. So it's incredible what open mind and constant never-ending learning can do for you. It can really evolve yourself. But again, you got to take it on board. Does it work for you? Does it fit for you? to take you in the direction of your health goals, because everyone's got unique health goals. I've got different health goals to you. So you want to orientate the information to make it work for you. And if it doesn't, don't apply it. Don't continue to do it. Again, it's experimenting with yourself. You are the best judge and the best assessor. You know yourself the best. So take charge of your health. Own your health. Empower yourself with knowledge, but trust yourself. Trust yourself. So incremental progress over perfection. If I had to chase perfection, this wouldn't be running today. But I chase incremental progress. What has Health Up achieved over 4 years? It's published over 200 episodes, well over 200 episodes, approaching 250 mark. I think last time I looked, I was about 36 episodes off the 250 mark. So 4 episodes a month, an episode a week is what my goal was, and I'm still doing that today, and sometimes I do more. What else? It's achieved, I think, close to 25,000 downloads in audio version, and in video, I think it's above 30,000 last time I looked, something like that. So it's well over, somewhere between 55, 60,000. So there's plenty of listeners. There's plenty of people who've got some valuable information. Those that continue to get value from the podcast continue to listen, and I thank you. I'm truly grateful to have you following and listening and enlightening your well-being. And I appreciate your ears, and I appreciate you watching me on YouTube. So thank you so much. And shout out to everyone that's gone along the journey with me and have learnt along the way. So thank you. Thank you for listening. And I continue to seek to enlighten your well-being. And again, you might outgrow the podcast, or you might go in a different direction. And that is fine. That is perfect. You go on your own journey. Again, I don't want dependence on me. If you like what I've got to share, then continue to listen to me, but question everything. And don't necessarily take on board everything that I say, because it might not work for you. You need to see if it aligns with you, your health goals, and where you want to go in life. So summing up this first point, and again, it's taken me 10 minutes to get through the first point, so I'm glad I didn't choose 10, is in summing it up, you can pursue perfection, but don't measure yourself against perfection. Measure yourself against where you were yesterday. Are you progressing forward and towards your goal? So it's that comparison to where you were, and if you're going in the direction of your goal. So that's the feedback you want to seek through the measurements. And for me, yes, I'm enlightening the well-being of others. I've got people continuing to listen. I get feedback, and everything seems to be going upwards. Is it going upwards as fast as I thought? I actually thought it would go faster. So I had higher expectations, but yes, I've been grounded, and it's not as fast as what I thought it would be, but it's where it's at, and it's probably where I'm at. So probably as I don't know, go to another level of empowerment, I'll probably attract more listeners and viewers. But anyway, it's not about that. I'm just on a journey, and I'm glad you're with me. And so thank you for being with me. And in terms of what I want you to take away from this point is, don't measure yourself against perfection. Again, it's going to set you up for failure, because you think you're inadequate. You think you're not. Because again, if I thought I should measure myself against Joe Rogan or Andrew Huberman, I wouldn't be doing it today, because I don't match up to them. They get millions of downloads. I'm lucky to get 30 per episode. So whatever it is, 100 per episode at most. Okay. Probably 100 on average. It's 100 per episode, but they get millions. So again, it's different levels. And look, they've been around a lot longer in the public space, and also in the broadcasting space, and probably been doing what they're doing for much longer than me. I'm early days, early adventures, but I'm here for the long run. So who knows? Who knows where this could go? So, but I'm not holding myself and measuring myself to them. I'm being the best version of me and doing the best I can with where I'm at and the skills and resources that I have. So again, takeaway is pursue progress over perfection and incremental progress over time. So the second point I have, and I want you to take away, is always be curious. Be curious and open to learning. Because through this curiosity, I've transformed my health and the openness. If I had stayed dogmented in what I've learned at university around nutrition, I don't think I would be where I am today. I don't think I would be as healthy as what I am today. Again, science is moving forward. We need to move forward too. We can't stay still. Otherwise, we're still backdated back in the antiquated 19, 18, 1700s, right? And again, we need to evolve with the science. We need to keep up with the science, keep up with our learning, and we need to listen to ourselves and see yourself as the best experiment as to whether it works for you. So just because I say that plant-based diets didn't serve me as well as what I'm eating now, it doesn't mean plant-based diets don't work for you. And I don't judge you for having a plant-based diet because you're special and unique, and I want you to stay special and unique. So stay on your path. Stay on what works for you. Don't necessarily adopt just because Anthony's doing it, because that is, you're different to me, right? But again, I'm just providing education and knowledge around what I'm doing and the science behind it. And again, it may work for you, it may not work for you. So it's important you stay true to yourself and be the best authentic expression of yourself, and never stop learning. Be open to learning and question things that you've learned off Andrew Huberman, Joe Rogan, Anthony Hartcher. Question, always question. Question it. Look into it yourself. I look into the science behind what I'm learning. Is it, are they talking bullshit, or is it for real? Does that study exist? And again, learn more about the study, because you'll find the nuances around the studies and the anyway, some of these big words I still need to practice to say better. But there's always some little thing around the studies that you think, okay. Because I've recently seen a study, right? And it was around intermittent fasting is associated with heart disease. I'm thinking that's contrary to what I've studied, right? I've been seeing that intermittent fasting or calorie restriction helps slowing down heart disease, or helps with prevention of heart disease. And then I looked up the mechanisms of action. I could see how it works. And it's this whole thing around autophagy and mopping up and getting, reducing inflammation. And so there's all these mechanisms of action that can serve it. But when I looked into the study itself that said there was an association with heart disease, what they were looking at was the populations, whether they were doing intermittent fasting or not intermittent fasting, and their degree of heart disease or progression of heart disease. But what they didn't look into were the ones that were doing intermittent fasting, what they were eating when they were in the eating window and weren't fasting. And so if you don't look into that, then how do you know it's what they're... So it's not necessarily because of the fasting that they're progressing their heart disease. It's probably most likely what they're eating when they're not fasting that's progressing the heart disease. I'm not sure, but they didn't take that into consideration in the study. So again, you could just read the headline and think, oh shit, I shouldn't do intermittent fasting because I could get heart disease, or I could accelerate my heart disease. But you've got to take it with a grain of salt. You remember, it's just a headline. Look into the details is what I'm saying. Be curious and open to learning, but question everything. That's your takeaway, okay? So, third point. Oh, yes, each point's taking 10 minutes. I'm on track for 10-minute points. Though hopefully I finish within the time frame of which is suitable for you. I generally try to stay around that 30 to 40-minute mark. Let's see if we can do that today. Thirdly, I've got be you, okay? Go about being you. So I learned this from Udo Erasmus. So he taught me a lot about fats and about the importance of having the primary fuel source. Certainly over a certain age. I didn't realize this at the time. He was just saying that we should focus on burning fats primarily as opposed to sugars, right? Glucose, carbohydrates. But that seems to work really well for under 25s, if I look at the research and look at the mechanisms of action. So in terms of, I think over 25 or over 30, I think it's great switching or focusing more on fat burning as opposed to carbohydrate burning. I found that works really well, and I can see why that works really well. So really keen for you to think about, are you primarily burning fat or are you primarily burning carbohydrates? Because I find that the age I'm at, which I'm approaching half a century, is that fat burning is serving me far better than carbohydrate burning. Hence why I've switched away from grains and plant-based to more animals and fats, because that's where the fuel is. That's where my primary fuel source is coming from, and it's serving me really well. But it might not work for you. So, but be you, be the best authentic version of yourself. And this is when I had a chat to Udo Erasmus. So I was talking about podcasting, and he brought up the point. He said, what makes your podcast so unique and special is that if you be yourself, and then you're completely differentiated. Because I was talking about points of differentiation around podcasting, and he just said, you just be the most authentic expression of yourself, and you're differentiated. And that's what I'm thinking we all should be, right? We all should be just the best versions of ourselves, because we're the only one of us on planet Earth which has got 8 billion people. So why not be the best version of yourself? And that way you can stand out, because there's no one else like you. And so if you can express yourself better each day, then you stand out more and more, and you attract more and more core following, because you can provide insight and knowledge in the areas that you value most. And that's what I'm doing around health and well-being. So again, focus on what's most important to you, and not compare yourself to others, because in the comparison of others, you're putting yourself down, or you're putting yourself above them. And again, that's not being the most authentic version of yourself. The most authentic version of yourself is that you're striving to improve yourself and not compare yourself to others. You're just comparing yourself to where you were yesterday. And that's what I do with the podcast. I compare myself where I was 4 years ago or last episode. So am I making progress? Am I improving each episode? Am I improving my interviewing technique? Am I getting guests that are aligned to the values of me and my health up? Because I want to continue to support my listeners. That's what I'm here for, to add value to you. That's why I seek feedback. So the third point is to be yourself, and to then be the best version of yourself. And that is not through comparing yourself to others. That is through focusing on your incremental progress over time. And so be that authentic expression by focusing and honing in on prioritizing what's most important to you. That's what I do around my health. And I seek education around my health and empowerment around health, so I can share it with you and enlighten and empower your well-being. So I focus a lot on this area. So where am I constantly learning? It's in the area of health, well-being, and being better versions of ourselves. That's, understanding human behavior and how humans operate, and so that I can help others be the best version of themselves by better understanding why people do what they do, and how they can be healthier. How can they health optimize to then be able to express themselves in the most authentic and optimized way? So that is what I do, but that's not what you might not necessarily. I mean, obviously you value health, because you wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you didn't value health, but you've got other values in other areas as well. And so I want you to focus and hone in on the areas that are most authentic to you, that are most important to you, and to grow in those areas, to make incremental progress in those areas, be curious in those areas, be open to learning in those areas. And that's when you'll grow yourself and move towards self-actualization, to a higher version of self. And that's what the goal is just constantly evolve yourself over time until you're no longer a human being. You're in the spiritual realm. You're in the afterlife. So, but as a human, just constantly be a better version than yesterday. And that's what I seek to do every day. And again, I've got a new opportunity every day to do that. So go about being yourself, expressing yourself. Don't compare yourself to others, because it's not an apples to apples comparison. They're completely different to you. And that's what makes us all unique and different, is that we all have we might have a similar genome to our parents, but the way we express them is our own uniqueness. And the areas of interest is our areas of interest. And the way we value them, or the magnitude at which we want to do them, is going to be different to other people. So the magnitude I do health is different to someone else listening to this podcast. They might just want to make some better incremental progress for themselves, but health's not the highest value, because family is. And so they will be learning more about family and wanting to take action more about family, but they'll still make some incremental progress in their health. It's the same with me. I have a value on family. And I'm seeking to, grow and expand my family. But I probably do it and express that in a more health dynamic as opposed to a social dynamic. So some people focus on the socialization and the helping their kids be more social and things like that. Whereas, yeah, I see that as important, but probably from a health perspective. Whereas other people see it from probably a relationship perspective. And so we have these hierarchy of values, and different, how much we value these will difference. So the quantity behind the qualitative of what it is. So be yourself and always be yourself. And the more you're yourself, the more you'll evolve as you. And the more you won't be beating yourself up inside, because the only reason we beat ourselves up inside is because we're comparing ourselves to an unrealistic expectation that we have on ourselves, or we look down on ourselves because we put other people above us. And those sort of comparisons don't help us. Again, we want to level up and see what we admire in others within us, and it will be in the form that we value more. They express it in a different way, but it's the same behavior. Like if you value hard work ethic and dedication, then I have that in the area of health, but I don't necessarily have that hard work ethic and dedication in the area of socialization, because I don't have a high value on that. It's not me. So I focus on the health side. Someone else specializes in the socialization side. My wife does. So that's where we complement one another. It's where we got the synergistic effect. So be you and be the best version of you, and constantly evolve you through being open and curious about developing in the areas that you value most. And that will enable you to be the most authentic expression of yourself and to really stand out in the world of sameness, because everyone's trying to copy the Kardashians and all those other superheroes or whoever they might look up to. They're trying to copy them, but they'll always be second best to them. And they're always going to be thinking they're not enough because they're comparing themselves to them, but they're not them. You got what I mean? Like, so you can admire the traits of the Kardashians and then find them within you in the areas that you value most, because you'll find that. Like if I find the Kardashians dedication, I don't even follow them, but I know a lot of people do. So I'm talking about them, but I don't really know much about them because I got no interest in what they do. So again, maybe I should use a better example for you. But so for example, Elon Musk, I've recently read his book and I admire his aspiration vision and his aspiration. So I've got aspiration visions around health, but I don't necessarily have the same aspirational vision that he has around the human race. And he's looking at it from a different perspective and focused in a different area. And so he's focused on that technological evolvement and helping human progress and evolution in terms of giving them alternatives to planet Earth to live. Whereas for me, I'm helping people to be the healthiest versions of themselves, and doing that in the way that I see health, which is holistically. So I do it in my way. I attract people that are also interested in holistic health. And I've got aspirations as to how many people I want to help and how many millions of people I want to serve. And so I've got aspirational in areas that I value, and that Elon Musk doesn't have a high value on his health, right? He's compromising his health in order to achieve his aspirational visions in terms of having humans on Mars, and in terms of helping us better work with the environment, or better utilize energy or extract energy in other ways other than fossil fuels, all these sort of things. But again, we have aspirational visions. We all do. And you have an aspirational vision, but it'll be in the area that you value most. It could be an aspirational vision around your family or around your social influence. Again, it could be around monetary. It could be around finances. But people have aspirational visions in the areas that they value most. So the takeaway point is to be you. And yes, I'm tracking to 10 minutes per point. I better get moving. So the next point ties into my previous point, which is be wary of judgment. So the point I want to make here is I talked a lot about judging and comparing yourself to others, and judging yourself and all those sort of things, and being that self-critic because you've got unrealistic expectations on yourself. But this point about being wary of judgment is, when I was looking for guests on my podcast, I was thinking, would this person make a good guest? And I'm sort of looking at, whether they're a high achiever in the area that they're an expert in, or, have they got big followings? And I thought, well, if I could bring them on my episode, I'll also bring their following and I'll grow mine and all this sort of, I had these sort of visions and hallucinations around the way in which podcasting works. But what I found was when I got the big note guests, they necessarily did not get the highest attractive listening rates, or they didn't necessarily bring in the most listens. What I found was the most intriguing topics that people hadn't heard about. So lightning therapy is my number one downloaded podcast. Number one, lightning therapy. I didn't know at the time when I interviewed the guest what is lightning therapy, and she was fairly new to the area and a bit hesitant about doing a podcast, but she said she'd do it, and it's been my number one downloaded podcast. And so the thing here is be wary of judgment. I was judging, lightning therapy. Does anyone want to know about lightning therapy? I just thought I'd be curious because I'm open, and I thought I'd find out about it during the interview, and I did. But I had no idea that it would be my number one downloaded podcast, because I've had some big note people that are, got an authority in their space that I thought would attract the most downloads per episode, but they didn't. And so be wary of judgment. Be wary of when you're judging others, and be wary of when you're judging yourself, because you've got this false illusion or this one-sided view of things that is a fantasy or a nightmare, depending on which way you look at it. So beware of it, because you create this delusional view of the world and you lose check with reality. And so that was a real grounding experience, because also when I got these ones that had a big following that I thought, I'd tap into their following by interviewing them, what I found is that there was actually some of my worst interviews. I actually thought, wow, they've got such a following, and they've got, their public profile, they've been on the Today Show and all this. And so I thought, they're amazing, they're incredible. And I interviewed them, and I thought that was ordinary. I thought, I've interviewed people that haven't been on the Today Show or the Sunrise Breakfast Show that speak far better than these ones that have been. So again, beware of the judgment. Beware of what you're judging and who you're judging, and judging of yourself, because it is an illusion. It's delusional. And I learnt that. And so I want you to be careful of it, and be careful of what you wish for, because you might be wishing for this delusion. Then it's not what I anticipated. And again, I want you to be real, and I don't want you to judge. The only way we can be judged is to see that everyone has two sides. That every person has a side that you really like and admire and attracted towards, and then they've got this other side that you dislike. But that's who they are, and you want to see them as whole, and you want to integrate the dislikes and likes into one, and see them as this one person that has this side that you're attracted to, and this sort of side you repulse. But that's like the magnet, right? The magnet's got an attractive side and a repulsive side, or the opposite side. And so everyone's like that. And so there's probably something that you like about me or admire about me, but there'll be a side that you're repulsed by. But that's who I am, and I'm not going to change me. I'm just going to be the best version of me. But in order to balance your perspective of me, is that you've got to see me as whole. I've got this side that you like and this side that you despise, and so does everyone else. So does your partner. And again, when we can see people for who they are, we can love them. When we're judging them and just saying that I only like this one side of them, again, it's conditional love. It's not true love. True love is seeing them as whole beings, and loving both sides of them, loving what you dislike or despise in them. And seeing, often what we see and we despise in others is what we dislike in ourselves. And it's reminding us of something we haven't loved in ourselves. And so it's telling you to love what you haven't previously loved about yourself. And so if you learn to love that, then you won't see it in others. You'll no longer be repelled by it, because you've loved it in yourself. And so I can help you do that if you're looking for help in this area, in terms of feeling whole and integrated as one, and seeing others for who they are and loving them for who they are. If you need help with that, I can certainly help you in that area. So that was number 4, was be wary of judgment, okay? Because again, when you're judging, you have a one-sided perspective of that person, or the way things should be, or the way podcasting should be, or what's going to grow my podcast. I was delusional. I just need to be the best version of myself, and that's how I grow my podcast. Number 5 is, the more I know, the more I realize I don't know. And that's this constant open-mindedness, constant seeking knowledge. And the more I know it, the more I realize I don't know. And so I'm constantly learning, and I want to learn more, and I'm going to continue to teach you more. As I evolve my education, I'm going to evolve your education. There'll be topics that you're not so attracted to, but you just be curious about them. Just be curious. You don't need to dig further into those topics that you're not interested in, but just be curious. Get an open mind to it, or get my perspective of it, and then seek another perspective of it. Again, be curious and question everything. And that's where I want to finish off today's episode, with those top 5. So the top 5 in summary was progress over perfection. Always focus on the incremental progress over perfection in the pursuit of something that's meaningful for you. So it's got to be important to you, like health is for me, and the empowerment of your health is to me. Be curious, open-minded. Always be curious, open-minded, open to learning new things. Be you, be the most authentic version of you. Don't compare yourself to others. Don't judge others. Don't judge yourself. Accept you for who you are. Accept others for who they are. Respect others for who they are, and respect you and love you for who you are. Be wary of judgment. Again, you create these illusions when you focus on one side, when you think that this person's just got this mass following, they can speak really well and they must be great at what they do. And then you start listening and hearing more of them, and you start questioning, I don't know how they've got this following, or I don't know how they got on the morning show. But again, if it could be through their network, it could be through their contacts, or it could be the way they market themselves. It could be their uniqueness around marketing that's really got them to where they are. It's not their public speaking ability, which I was judging them for, right? So be wary of judgments. And the last one is, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. So keep learning and keep going, keep lifting and evolving your learning and knowledge, and enlightening your well-being. And remember, you are the best experiments. You know what's best for you. So try new things, apply them, be consistent. But if they're not working, don't pursue them, because they don't work for you. You are a unique human being. Only you know what works best for you. So be the best version of yourself. And until next time, continue to health up.
Podcast disclaimer. This podcast and any information, advice, opinions, or statements within it do not constitute medical, healthcare, or professional advice and are provided for general information purposes only. All care is taken in the preparation of the information in this podcast. Connected Wellness Proprietary Limited, operating under the brand Me&My Health Up, does not make any representations or give any warranties about its accuracy, reliability, completeness, or suitability for any particular purpose. This podcast and any information, advice, opinions, or statements within it are not to be used as a substitute for professional, medical, psychological, psychiatric, or any other mental health care or healthcare in general. Me&My Health Up recommends you seek the advice of a doctor or qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Inform your doctor of any changes that you may to your lifestyle and discuss these with your doctor. Do not disregard medical advice or delay visiting a medical professional because of something you hear in this podcast. This podcast has been carefully prepared on the basis of current information. Changes in circumstances after publication may affect the accuracy of this information. To the maximum extent permitted by the law, Me&My Health Up disclaims any such representations or warranties to the completeness, accuracy, merchantability, or fitness for purpose of this podcast, and will not be liable for any expenses, losses, damages incurred, indirect or consequential damages, or costs that may be incurred as a result of the information being inaccurate or incomplete in any way and for any reason. No part of this podcast can be reproduced, redistributed, published, copied, or duplicated in a form without prior permission of Me&My Health Up.